Today we're going to be making madeleines. Now, Madeleines.m4v is using a Genoese sponge, which is a very light, delicate sponge, which actually can collapse quite easily. So you actually have a bit of corn flour in with the flour, which helps it stop collapsing. So in order to bake the madeleines, I'm going to use this, which is a silicone baking tray, which has the traditional madeleine shape in there. You can have a metal one. There's plenty of these types of trays in the shop, but I've just got this silicone one which I'm going to be using. So the ingredients that we need for the basic madeleine mix are 65 grams of unsalted butter, 2 eggs, then it's 65 grams of plain flour and 1.5 teaspoons of corn flour, 65 grams of caster sugar and a little bit of vanilla essence. Now today we're actually going to mix some glacé cherries in with it to make a glacé cherry madeleine. So here I've got 30 grams of glacé cherries just cut up. It's actually, you need to use the undyed glacé cherries, because the ones that are bright red, the colouring often comes and leaks out in things that you make. So these are the undyed ones, which you can get in most supermarkets anyway. So the first thing we're going to do is just melt the butter. We're going to melt it down and then just leave it to cool. So just put the butter in a saucepan and then put it on a low heat and just leave that to gently melt. Once that's melted, just turn the heat off and just leave it to one side, and we'll need that a bit later on. So the next thing that we're going to do is mix together the eggs and the sugar and the vanilla essence, and we're actually going to put that over a simmering pan of water and whisk it on the heat, which is the way that the Genoese sponge gets nice and light. So I put the 2 eggs in the bowl, then half a teaspoon of vanilla essence in there, and put the sugar in there, and then we'll take that over to the heat. I'm going to use an electric whisk just with the beater attachment. We'll put that over some simmering water and whisk that up. So what we're going to do, we need a saucepan where the water's just boiled and now it's very gently simmering like that. We're going to put the bowl with the eggs, sugar and vanilla essence on, and then we're going to whisk it while it's over the heat. And what will happen is it will really increase in volume as you're whisking it. So what we're going to do, we need a saucepan where the water's just boiled and now it's very gently simmering like that. We're going to put the bowl with the eggs, sugar and vanilla essence on, and then we're going to whisk it while it's over the heat. And what will happen is it will really increase in volume as you're whisking it. So I've been whisking this for about 2 minutes now, and you can see it's really increased in volume. It's gone nice and thick, and when you turn that off it should just sort of leave a bit of a trail going back in there. So once you've done that, check the bowl's not too hot, but take it off the heat, and then we're going to continue whisking for another couple of minutes until the mixture cools down a bit. So after a couple more minutes, we're done with that, and we're now going to add the rest of the ingredients. So what we need to do actually with the flour, which I've just done, is actually sieve the flour twice. So put it onto another plate, sieve it through, then do it back again, and then we're sieving it for a 3rd time to put in here. This just helps, this is the flour and the corn flour together, and it just helps create this really light, delicate sponge. So back through there, and fairly gently just sieve that in there and try and put an even layer all over the top, and then we're just going to fold it in. So that's the 3rd time of sieving. Put all that through, and then using a metal spoon or a spatula, just gently fold that in using the figure of 8 movement. So once that's nearly all mixed in, but not quite, we need to add this melted butter. And the way to do that is to just pour it and just dribble it down the side and keep blending in the sponge with the butter. So keep doing your folding motion, pour all the butter in, and then we're going to have our basic sponge. So once you've folded in the butter, that's your basic Madeleine mixture. Now what we're going to do so there are then various things you could add. You could add some cocoa powder to make chocolate ones. You could add some orange zest and a bit of orange juice to make orange ones. What I'm going to do is just add some glacé cherries. I think it looks really good when it's got the cherries in. So just add your chopped glacé cherries and stir them in, and then we'll be ready to put them in the tin. So now we're ready to put the mixture into the Madeleine tin or silicone tray, whatever you've got. I've just lightly buttered these, which just helps keep the shape of it. So I'm just going to use a spoon. You just carefully get a spoonful of the mixture and fill it pretty much full up with the mixture. Once you've filled the tin with the mixture, you see, fill it right up to the top. They may actually rise up a little bit above the top, but you can trim those off afterwards. And then I like to put the silicone ones on a baking sheet. I'm going to put it in the oven. The oven's going to be 190 degrees centigrade. If you have a fan setting, switch that off, just have it on the regular setting, and they'll take about 10 to 12 minutes to cook. After 10 or 12 minutes, they should become nice and springy to the touch, which they are, and just starting to go a little bit golden. They look perfect actually. So we'll take those out and we'll just leave them to cool in the tray for a couple of minutes before turning them out onto a wire rack. Once they've cooled a bit, they'll start to loosen away from the side. You can see there they come out easily. So just take them out and put them on the tray to cool, and as you can see, they've kept their shape really nicely. So once they've cooled, I just like to sprinkle a bit of icing sugar over the top, makes them look nice, and there we have our cherry madeleines. So don't forget, the full address for this recipe is on my website at www.howtomakecakes.co.uk.